Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I'm joined always by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm not as good as you, I'm sure. As a fan of the Wolverines, I'm assuming you've got to be pretty over the fucking moon tonight.
Yeah, it was great. It was just it was a good game.
Just
So
a run-of-the-mill national championship, that's all.
yeah, I think what's interesting about my experience watching Michigan football is that this felt like every other week that I watch a Michigan game, to be honest. It's my dad was a complete wreck the whole time. And so I was stuck trying to be the voice of reason.
Oh, jeez. It was a rough day.
And so they had a really great first quarter. And I was basically then Washington scored a touchdown and it's a one-score game at half. And I'm like, he's freaking out. And I'm like, they're up a touchdown. Everything's going to be okay. And then they exchange field goals. And I'm like, they're up a touchdown. Everything's going to be okay.
We're still good.
Yeah. And then the first quarter was definitely went Michigan's way. And then for the next 2 quarters worth of time, I thought that the teams played each other to a standstill.
Yeah.
Both of them were just couldn't move the ball very well. Defenses were very clearly in charge of the game. And then Michigan got a turnover in the fourth quarter, scored off that. They scored, and I think they scored on the previous drive, and that broke it. And I hadn't seen Washington play all season, and I haven't seen Michael Penix play for 2 years when he was at Indiana.
Yeah.
And so this was a good opportunity to see guys like Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Braylon Trice, who I wouldn't mind end up in a Lions uniform come the draft, and of course Michael Penix. And I thought Washington played well, and I think that they're going to adjust to the Big Ten really well. And so I'm excited to see them in the Big Ten, and it was a good game, and it's been a long time, and I'm trying to be, I'm always telling Lions fans, let's show some respect, and we don't have to treat people the way that we were treated, that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to be a decent Michigan fan and
not one of those fans, right?
And gloat and shit. Yeah. And so there were some kids on Ann Arbor's campus or whatever that burned a couch or some shit in the street.
Hey, that's what the green and white are supposed to do.
Right. And I'm I've never understood destroying things in celebration.
No.
So I didn't get it. So I was like, let's not be those people. But it's a good thing. And, there will always be controversy surrounding it, unfortunately. But now it's just, we're moving on.
What controversy? Bad calls or just the cheating, the sign thing?
Yeah, more about that. So there's people are throwing around asterisks in maize and blue on Twitter, because it's oh, you stole signs. Allegedly.
Yeah.
It's the NCAA. We'll know how it wraps up in 2 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And
haters gonna hate.
Yeah. And so and I have a hard time with that because I have thin skin when it comes to fandom. So that's unfortunate. But just looking at the chat right now, Hatters is out here trolling, extend Goff now, 50 million. Donkey Kong out here just sticking with the mantra.
Super Bowl or bust, baby. Let's get to the NFL then. Speaking of Super Bowl or bust,
sure.
So news and notes. Obviously, the playoff seedings are set. I did find the most interesting thing that happened over the most uniquely interesting thing that happened over the weekend is when a coach has to apologize to the other team for its players. Let's tell me what your thoughts were on that. Kind of like go over what happened with the crew, if in case they didn't see it or know about it, and then kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
So I think as we have talked on this podcast before, I don't have any problem with running up the score. And if you don't like it, you should be out there preventing them from doing that to you. It's as much as college football is not professional football,
right?
It's as close to professional football as you can be. Like, I don't care about the UFL, like college football is the next highest level of football that's being played in America. So whether you're talking professional or college, like, don't let them to run the score up against you. Here's my one exception. Here's my one exception. If you're up, because they were up something like 17 points, weren't they?
I don't remember it was insurmountable.
Yeah. And they lined up in victory formation, and then the players on the field, apparently the coaching staff called victory formation.
Yeah.
And the players audibled to a fake, which they then scored a touchdown on, which then led to the Saints coaching staff having to apologize to the other team, which then led to Jameis Winston unbelievably going online and being like, team first, team victory, players talked it over. And then I'm sure the Saints PR staff was like, Jameis,
how do we spin this shit?
Bro, what are you doing? Like, can you not maybe just
not mutiny?
Oh, God.
Right, on Twitter? That's straight up mutiny, right?
I've never seen anything like that. I thought
the reason they did that was because Jamal Williams led the NFL in touchdowns last year with the Lions at 17. He did not have a single touchdown this year. And they said, you know what? We need to get this bro a TD. I don't know if it was some sort of like, as long as you score one TD, you get $500,000, like some sort of bonus thing or what. But I think they just didn't want him to get shut out on the season. They're like, they are never going to suspect this shit. Jamal, we're going to hand it to you, and you're going to just go flying. And not particularly sportsmanlike.
No, definitely not. And if I'm Jamal Williams, that touchdown means nothing to me. To get it like that in the last game of the season, just live off the fact that you had 17 a year ago.
Yeah.
He didn't play.
Yeah, I would have probably told the guys no. I mean, I appreciate the thought more than you can imagine that you really want to do this for me, but like, I'm gonna stay classy. Like it's not about me; it's about team, and this is the right thing for the team. I feel like I would have said that in the time, but I don't know.
I lost some respect for the Saints.
Well, for the players, the coach was pissed, right? Like this was not a coaching decision.
Well, I mean,
so
when I say the Saints, I mean, yeah, the players are a big part of that.
Sure.
And so like, I lost a lot of respect for them. So that was, I thought, relatively classless. So, what's up, Rumble? If they had just lined up 4 wide and gone for it, it's a different story for me. But to like trick your way to it in an effective blowout, having lined up in the position that everybody's like, all right, no, we're not going 100% on this play because it's unstoppable, was very lowbrow, I thought. Bush League.
Yeah, I agree.
So now here's my next question. If the players do that, do you think the head coach is in charge of the locker room? I mean, do you think the Lions players do that to Dan Campbell?
No, I don't. I think they're not in the position to do that. I think their heart was in the right place, but they executed poorly. I don't think it's. Did the coach lose the locker room? I don't think so. I think sometimes you get those guys are like, there's 53 of us. This is our last game. What's he going to do? Bench us? And we're just going to do what we want. it's a meaningless play ultimately, right? So it's meaningless in the outcome of the game. It's meaningless. It doesn't even mean much to Jamal Williams. So I think they're like, it's a meaningless play. We're just going to do this thing that we want to do. And Steve-O, I think Dan would have been trying to score that touchdown. Maybe. Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I'm not sure you can't fault the coach because he very clearly did not want that to be the thing that happened. But you do have to wonder like what repercussions any of those players might have. If you were the coach, what do? You can't fire them all. Can't bench him now because y'all aren't in the playoffs. So like it was kind of a free play for those guys. I don't think they felt any concern for their job or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know what you do. If I was the GM, I would be having conversations. I mean, that was something that I would be like, I don't remember the last time that I was aware. I mean, like some quarterbacks can walk up to the line and call whatever play they want.
Right.
But like,
this is a little different.
If you're walking up and you're up by 17, 20 points or whatever it was, I think they were up by 17. I think it was 34-17. And they went in and made it 41-17. I think that's what happened. That's just
they won 48-17. So they were already up 41-17.
My God. So I mean, like to me, if I'm the GM, I'm like, okay, that's certainly a question that's going to come up in the end of the exit interviews for the year.
Yeah.
Like what happened? What was called in the huddle? What were you guys thinking? What the fuck were you guys thinking?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't like it.
Well, anything else before we kind of take a quick peek at the playoff picture? That's a news and note around the NFL.
Just that we now have 6 teams looking for head coaches, and as of this afternoon, I know Ben Johnson had been there had been a request to interview Ben Johnson from the Panthers, Commanders, and Chargers. And there had been a request to interview Aaron Glenn from the Commanders and Chargers. So day one, yep. Commanders and Chargers have our coordinators on their list, right? So
yep,
it starts. So
let's talk playoff picture. So we've got this kind of goes back to that Dallas game, right? We do our part, and we could have ended up at the 2 spot or the 1 spot, which is super unfortunate. But
an extra week would have really helped Sam Laporta. Yes,
that by the way was the exact reason I thought we should have rested our starters.
Sure,
but they play 17 other games or 16 other games. You don't keep them out of there in fear of injuries. But I do think that, like, personally, I was a fan of, I think you and I talked about it last week. Like, I was a fan of we should keep them out, or at least like some of the key guys. The question is, like, for me, like, do you rest Laporta? He's a critical piece to our offense, but I know it makes a lot of sense to make sure rookies get as many reps as they can. So maybe I wouldn't even sat him, and it just would have been sucks to be us. But I probably would have sat Goff. I probably would have sat Amon-Ra St. Brown. I probably would have sat Hutch. Those are the 3, and maybe even Sewell, and get some offensive linemen some more reps. But so that's unfortunate for the Lions and for Laporta. By the way, I don't know if you noticed. You see my new hat at the NFC Champ locker room hat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my other one was getting a little dingy, and this I like the looks of this one.
There you go.
So we got the Niners at the number 1 seed. We got number 2 Dallas playing Green Bay. We're obviously one of the big stories because of the whole Goff Stafford trade, and now they're facing each other kind of thing. So us in LA, and then Tampa Bay, Philadelphia in the NFC. We got Baltimore taking a break in it's the 1 seed in the AFC. Buffalo versus Pitt, I think, is going to be a pretty decent game. Kansas City versus Miami is going to be a great game. and Cleveland, Houston. I'd love to see Detroit and Cleveland both win a playoff game for the first time in decades.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Cleveland.
Detroit Cleveland Super Bowl would be. I think that's like the end of the world. That will end up at the halftime. Like no one's going to end up winning because this shit happened.
One of the 7 seals of the apocalypse or something.
Yeah,
it could very well be. So, I think Buffalo's going to absolutely embarrass Pittsburgh.
They've been scrappy. They've been finding ways to win.
Yes.
I think they've overperformed. I don't think they have a talent for a playoff squad yet they're here. So I'm not going to count them out, but I think Buffalo will beat them.
They're starting Mason Rudolph, so
yeah,
I'm pretty confident. 9 and I was at 9 and
Dr.
10.
D.
Oh, hey, Dr.
9 to 10 wins. Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, so from where Dr. Detroit was sitting, they overperformed, which is always good. It's kind of nice.
Yep, always happy.
You want to do picks in these games, Mike?
Well, yeah, let's do that. We'll throw it in the chat so we have a permanent record of our decisions. We need this playoff win. F. Stafford. I hope we beat that mofo's ass. You know what, Steve? I'm a big Stafford fan. He got his ring. I'm a Lions fan, all right? Last year, we weren't in 2021, we weren't in the playoffs. So I'm like, go win the ring, bro. This year, I'm all about, like, we need to win. Like, am I going to be happy he wins? No. I want the Lions to win. If they do beat us and then he continues to win, am I going to be happy? I'll probably be happy for him, but I'd rather have it be us. Like, this is the game that I care about. Like, I'm not F. Stafford. I just want us to win.
Yeah, I think that the whole narrative around this matchup is very odd, very confusing. I understand why, because there was the trade, but Matthew Stafford is the greatest quarterback that the Detroit Lions have ever had. He's, in my opinion, and he was a classy guy for a dozen years. He never bashed the organization once in any interview or any soundbite that I ever heard from him.
Even after.
Yeah, he was a consummate professional. I'm happy that he did get his ring, but I mean, I just can't bring it in myself to be like anything but respectful for that guy.
Yeah.
He's just a classy, really good quarterback who used to play for us. And well, Donkey Kong, we'll do a
mock
at the end.
Yep.
We had that on the. You're gonna start seeing a lot more of that. I promise.
Yeah.
So to me, there is no narrative about Goff's revenge. In fact, Goff came out today and basically squashed it. He came out and said, like, that's not what we're doing. You know, we're focused on the team, and the team needs to be focused on just getting the win, and it's not about any individual. It's not about any storyline. And, like, I really respect that from Goff. Like, he could have taken it another way, and he chose not to. Okay, so it is our time.
Yeah.
You're 100% right, Steve.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that we have to take a line as fans that the opposing team is the enemy. Like, you can respect your opponent and still go out and play hard.
Yeah.
So, like,
they're still the enemy, right? We just don't have to hate them. We just want to win. We want to beat them.
Yeah, I don't want to win any less or more than if it was any of these other 6 teams in the playoffs.
They're just an opponent. They're
Right.
just an opponent. And I want to beat them like any other opponent.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to beat them because of a thing other than that. I want to beat them because they're our opponent.
Right. So let's talk about this. Let's just do a little preview.
Oh, Steve,
Right,
Goff is definitely taking it more seriously, right? He's 100%. He's saying and doing the right things in public, just like he does on any other game day. Like, if he throws a couple interceptions, even if he doesn't throw interceptions, he's like, yeah, I should have put this one in the right spot. Like he's a good leader. Like I will give him that. He's a good leader. He takes ownership. He tries to do that kind of stuff. He says the right things. He does everything you'd want out of a quarterback, a leader of your team, especially in the public and in the media. So yeah, for sure, he wants to prove to McVay that he was wrong about him, that he's got it. He's got whatever McVay didn't see in him. But he's definitely not going to say that. It's going to be billboard material, right? And he doesn't want that. So he's just going to go out. He's going to do his thing. He's going to try like as hard as he can. And I hope he does. I hope he wins. Like I don't want him to do bad. I just don't want to sign him to a long-term contract. That's the only difference. I want him to do really well.
I think Jared Goff and every other Detroit Lion that is on the roster currently is going to play as hard as if it was any other team that they got matched up against. So I don't think it matters. Yeah,
because it's win or go home, regardless of who you play against.
This is 100% for fans, to get fans like us worked up so that we will either go to the game or watch the game, which we were going to do anyways.
Yeah.
So like,
but now you get to talk about it more. You get to drive those other things,
which I have no interest in because
right.
It's when we were going to play the game anyways. I don't need anything else to be more interested in getting out there and playing the game. And like Brad Holmes came from LA, like
Josh Reynolds came from LA. Is it a Brad Holmes, retribution game or a Josh Reynolds retribution game?
No,
revenge game? No, it's
that's
not.
Just it, right? That's just it. Like, you could be, like, what is the difference in saying like we traded Matt Stafford for Goff and the picks and being like, oh, but Brad Holmes just left because he got a better opportunity. Like Jared Goff also got a good opportunity. Like Jared Goff is making the most out of the opportunity that he was provided with this trade. It's done nothing but good things for Jared Goff because he's made the most of it. Like it reminds me a lot of like the best revenge is living well. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't need, to me, like, I don't even think that he needs to. Do I want them to win? Yeah. Do I think that Jared Goff needs to win this game for any Jared Goff reason? No, I don't think so.
No. All right, let's talk about the games here. Dallas, Green Bay.
It's in Dallas, so I'm going to pick Dallas. But Green Bay is playing quite well, and that matters.
I think Dallas will beat them by close to 2 touchdowns. It'll be over 10, maybe not as much as 14.
The NFL does love these storylines.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Steve-O's.
All right. Philadelphia versus Tampa Bay.
I'm going to pick Tampa Bay.
Interesting.
Because Philadelphia has lost 5 out of its last 6. At one point, very late, 2/3 of the year, they were 10-1. And they finish up 11-6. And they have looked bad, and they have gotten banged up. Their defense isn't playing well. And it just looks like whatever they had that got them to the Super Bowl and carried them through the first 10 or 11 weeks of this season, it seems to be gone. And so I think it's in Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken. They're the division winner.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm going to take the Bucs at home.
Interesting. So I'm going to pick Philadelphia over Green Bay or over Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be a closer game than it should be. Like you said, they were 11-1 at some point during the season or something like that, and they were Super Bowl.
Well, they did
Super Bowl
9-0 last week, so I mean
that's true. Really Don't forget that. Don't forget that. I think they're going to get their shit together. Baker Mayfield is, he's playing well this year. He's a comeback player of the year candidate. I'm not like overlooking it. I think it's going to be a really, really tight game, but I think Philadelphia's defense is going to get their shit together just long enough to beat them. I don't think they're going to make it past the next round, but I think they're going to squeak by Tampa Bay in a really tight game.
Yeah, I'll take the Bucks at home. Baker's just got too much of that, like, oh, if it's Superman that showed up this week in him for me. Like, and I think, like, with it being win or go home, season's over. They're the home team. Baker might just kill them.
Yeah.
And like
he's also got a little bit of rookie Peyton Manning
he does.
Interception record in him too. So
that's true. I'm gonna bet that he shows up though. Like he walked off the plane for the Rams and like 36 hours later won him a game last season. I think that's the guy that's gonna show up on whatever the day they play, Sunday or whatever it is.
It definitely could be. It's a coin flip. Which is crazy to think. You wouldn't have thought that after week 12.
No.
And then, all right, so everybody's favorite game. So I'm really curious what the chat thinks as well. Detroit versus LA. First home game in 30 years. All the storylines with, Stafford and Goff and all that kind of stuff we just talked about. Detroit's got, I don't know, this is the best team, best all-around team I've seen since the Barry Sanders days, which makes sense because this is the first home game since Barry Sanders days. What do you want to talk about, like position by position matchups, like favored, unfavored, or do you want to just go right into who we think is going to win?
We can go to position by position. It's for the chat. I think the Lions will win. They're at home. I will say that the Rams are playing real well. The Rams, this whole roster, except Puka, right, was Super Bowl winners.
Yeah,
2 years ago. So I mean, like they understand what it takes, and I think
that said, they had like 35 rookies in training camp this year, and they have the youngest roster in the NFL because they had to shed so many of those guys. Like Ramsey's gone, Bobby Wagner's gone, Von Miller's gone. Like they shed a lot. They're a really young team, so most of that Super Bowl winning team is not there. There's obviously key pieces like Donald, Stafford, and Kupp, in even ancillary pieces like Ben Skoranek and Tyler Higbee, but like the good chunk of that is still going to be really young dudes that have never experienced that, which hopefully will play to our advantage.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, they just all went through a 17 game season, right? So I mean, yeah, it's a different thing in the play. It's a different atmosphere in the playoffs. So I think Detroit will win. Where do you want to start on the matchups?
Coaching.
Well, Sean McVay's been to 2 Super Bowls. He won one of them. Detroit's, I don't know what Dan Campbell's coaching career looked like prior to being here.
He was an interim head coach in Miami for like 5 games.
So, I mean,
I think it's.
Go ahead.
McVay is like, I would put McVay in the top 3, top 4 coaches in the game right now.
Really?
I'd put Andy Reid at number 1. I'd put Steve Carroll at number 2, and I'd put Sean McVay at number 3. Only because Bill Belichick's not coaching. He would probably be at 1 or 2. I would probably put him at number 2 behind Andy Reid, and in front of Pete Carroll. But I would put McVay right next to those guys. Dan Campbell's not in that group yet.
Well, no. McVay might be. I mean, there's every possibility.
He's got 70 wins in 6 years.
It's a lot. It's a lot of wins. But first of all, I think my thing is like this game is going to be who gets the ball last. I don't know that either defense can stop either offense. And
I think it's going to be a turnover battle. Whoever wins the turnover battle will win the game. If Stafford plays mistake-free, I think that they're going to beat us.
Well, yeah, I would say whoever. But I think if it's If we win the turnover battle or it's even, I think that we win. And I think someone in the chat mentioned it earlier. Like, if Stafford does go out there and gunslings it and they get a pick or something like that, I think it heavily favors Detroit. So, as it has all year, the Lions are the quintessential, if you win the turnover battle, you win the game kind of team.
If you score first.
Yeah.
Also,
there's a formula for it. They are definitely a formulaic team. So, I mean, the only hiccup that we really had was that 4 or 5 week stretch where it was like 3 picks, 3 fumbles, 3 picks. And that seems to have been cleared up. It was clear. Dallas was the biggest opponent that they faced since that hiccup. He looked fine in that game. Certainly didn't look like the Packers suck ass. They ain't beating Dallas. We don't think so either.
Yeah.
He looked fine against Minnesota too. I mean, they didn't make as many mistakes. And thank you, Nick Mullins. I mean, it's not a big hill to climb, but like
4 turnovers.
Yeah. So I just don't think that they're in a position right now where he's not going to make mistakes. And I don't know that the Rams can put him in a position to make mistakes. So
that's where my fear is, because I think if anybody's going to be able to do it, Aaron Donald can. And they've also got Byron Young and Kobe Turner as young defensive linemen. Kobe Turner, I believe, is the guy that tied Aaron Donald's rookie sack record with 9 as an interior defensive lineman. Like, Kobe Turner, Aaron Donald getting pressure, and Byron Young on the edge. Like, I'm afraid of that, because that's the thing. I think the reason we might lose, if we lose, it's because that defensive line got to Goff, he got flustered and made mistakes. And I'm really afraid of how well that line's played the last several games. They've been one of the best teams in the league since their bye. And man, I hope Sewell can handle those guys. I hope Ragnow stays healthy. I hope our guards outplay their, Donald and Kobe Turner kind of tandem there. But that's what has me worried, because I think they've got the matchup in court. I think LA's got the better quarterback. I think we've got the better offensive line. I think our tight ends, Higbee, I mean, if we had Sam Laporta, I'd say we'd have the better tight ends. But since we don't, I would say Higbee's the better tight end compared to Brock Wright or James Mitchell. He's not great, but I think, he squeaks by in a contest there. Wide receivers, I mean, I'd take Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp over Amon-Ra and whoever else we can throw the ball to. Like, they're dangerous. So I think offensively, and then run game, I think we're really close. Like, I think Kyren Williams, I think he's the only running back in the NFL to have a over 100-yard per game average. He was second in the NFL and missed 4 games. But man, as a tandem, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs have been lighting it up. So combined, they got more yards, but I would say the run game's probably a draw with a slight edge to us. So I think offensively they're a slight favorite, but not too big. Defensively, I think that we've got a better defense than they do. They've got a better defensive line with Donald and Byron Young and Kobe Turner, but 2 of those guys are real young. But I think our secondary is better than them. That's where they've struggled all year. So I think we got better linebackers. I think we got better cornerbacks. I think we got better safeties. So my hope is if Hutch can get some pressure, I think he will as well, because their offensive line is not particularly good. They're, I don't know, like 20th in the NFL or something as an offensive line. So if we don't get pressure, I think we lose. I think that's the key to our game, is getting pressure and forcing Stafford to make throws faster than he wants into guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, right, and some of those guys. So that's if that doesn't happen, I think they just end up squeaking by us. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by either team, but like I'm picking LA by like 1 last second field goal or some shit. But I think that we can. I think we can do it. I'm not convinced that we're not going to crumble under the pressure. It's a huge pressure situation. First home game in 30 years against his old team. He's got to be like, I don't know. And facing Aaron Donald just fucking sucks. This was the matchup I didn't want.
Yeah, I didn't want it either. So the Dallas loss was really a bummer for me. So this is after all of those things you said, the Rams won 10 games. As far as playing Aaron Donald, there's been nobody in the NFL that's proven that they can stop Aaron Donald. So I don't think it's about stopping Aaron Donald. I think it's about slowing Aaron Donald down. And I like Frank Ragnow plus either guard against him all game to accomplish slowing him down. Yes, and then that leaves the 2 young pass rushers against Decker and Sewell. So I like our chances there. The rest of their defense is I don't know that I can name a single player on it. And,
they're not good.
Right. And so the other thing to do to defeat a pass rush is to have a quick pass game. So luckily the Lions have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just lives off of that. And luckily for Sam Laporta, even if he doesn't play this next week, he hyperextended his knee as opposed to tearing joints in it or tearing ligaments.
Thank God. Thank God it was just that.
I don't think that he plays.
I don't think so either.
But he might. And if he doesn't play, they need to know that, because the rumors that I've been hearing is that the Lions could go out and sign a tight end like Zach Ertz to come in, who played for the Lions tight end coach.
I mean, they might do that anyway.
Well, I mean, they only have one on the roster right now, James Mitchell. So
yeah,
the running game, it may not be as effective as it has been against other teams, but like Jahmyr Gibbs does have more 20-yard rushes than any other running back in the NFL. And I think it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, like I'll take Ben Johnson's run calling against anybody on the defensive line who isn't Aaron Donald. You know, and he's going to make plays, but he's not going to make every play the entire game. So I like the Lions offense against the Rams defense. And against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, it's not like the Lions don't play against elite wide receivers. I mean, they played against Justin Jefferson twice a year.
Usually don't play 2 on the same team. That's the trick.
Sure. Okay. So let's talk about.
And even Robinson's played really well since they acquired him partway through the season.
Yeah. So, but the Lions have given up things like, what is the dude that had like CeeDee Lamb had over 200 yards receiving, and they played the Cowboys to a standstill. And last year, Justin Jefferson had over 200 yards receiving, and they beat the Vikings in that game.
Yep.
And so if you want to give Kupp and Nacua 110 yards apiece, you know, and whatever, I don't know that that's something that the Detroit Lions haven't seen before and can't overcome.
So can they do that while Kyren Williams is also running for 115?
So the Lions also have like the 6th highest rated run defense in the NFL, and they just got Aleem McNeil back.
Yeah.
So what team has run all over the Detroit Lions this year? The Rams are going to come in and do it? Maybe. But maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, I would tend to bet that the 6th rated defense plays against Kyren Williams the same way that it does against any other running back that they happen to come up against this season. I like Kyren Williams, and I'm glad he had a nice season, but this is the one and only time that he's done it.
And he was good last year. He got hurt again last year. He was
well, maybe he'll roll an ankle.
He was solid.
Quarter, you know, who knows? But like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
hope nobody gets an injury on any team.
Okay, well, sure. But like, I don't think there's anything that the Rams do that the Lions haven't seen in a similar way at some point during this season. And the
Yeah.
only team that really embarrassed them was the Ravens.
Yeah, score wise.
Right.
I think the Green Bay game
and
was pretty
the Green
embarrassing
Bay
as
game
well.
was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's
At home on national television, huge game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I'm not.
I think we can, right? I think we could be anywhere from a fairly close loss to a blowout win.
Yeah, and like
I think we have that in us. We've got that in our bag.
You know, and like I think that I just don't seem to think that what they are good at, they are going to be as good at against Detroit as you seem to feel they will be.
Yeah.
Like, so you've listed all the things that I think they have to do well in order to win, but I also think he does sound nervous, Sequa.
I'm nervous for the Lions. I don't want them to win. Don't forget this. I don't want them to win, but I'm nervous for the Lions that the things that I've watched, because I've watched every one of their games, and the things that I've seen over their last 5 or 6 weeks has me nervous as a Lions fan.
What made you nervous about them in the Minnesota game or the Dallas game or the Denver game?
I guess the memory of the Chicago game and the Green Bay game and the Baltimore game.
Right. So like,
right.
The thing that makes
the fact that I know we can blow up and have just a shit storm of a game. Right. That's what makes me nervous.
I mean, so can the Rams. They
sure
they lost 7 times. I mean,
yep.
You know, it's certainly possible. You know, I mean, like, I think the Rams need all of those things to go well to beat the Lions. They have to have pressure. They have to have Aaron Donald making plays. They have to have Kyren Williams on. Puka and Kupp have to get that kind of yardage. And I think that if one of those things doesn't happen, the Lions exploit it. And they do what they do, which is to limit mistakes, because other than Aaron Donald, who on the Rams is going to force a mistake from the Detroit? I just like the Lions matchups better on our offense versus their defense than their offense against our defense. The Rams have the better individual defensive player. The Lions have the better defense. So I'm not going to predict a score because I don't know who's going to get the ball.
Right.
And like, is Sam Laporta going to play? Have they signed Zach Ertz? What the situation's going to look like?
Right.
But the Rams have to come to Detroit. The home team is favored. The crowd will be crazy.
Yep.
You know, and it might be the difference in the game might be, you know, the Rams can't hear a check that Matthew Stafford's trying to make at the line, and they have to burn a timeout.
Yeah. You know, or the receivers don't hear it and they run the wrong route, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and Matt has played real well this year. Real well. Matt also has a little bit of that Baker Mayfield in him where it's like, oh, this is a 2 or 3 pick game.
Yeah, he had 2 picks against the Giants two games ago. Those were his first 2 picks after week 11, but like he floated them about 3 yards above the receiver's head, and they literally went like this. Calvin couldn't have caught him.
You know, and like I like Hutch's. I mean, like, yes, their line has played better this year, but they playing better than they did 2 years ago would have been next to impossible not to achieve. Their line was really poor. And like, they've played well. I'm happy that they played well. But like, I think Hutch will be able to generate pressure against that line. Because what I would do is I would just put Hutch on whatever matchup I want. Inside, outside, wide 9, doesn't matter. All the Lions ever do with him is send him. They send him every play. He has a terrible run defense grade because his job is to get upfield after the quarterback. They don't even want him to play run defense. They send him all the time. And I like Matt Stafford, and I think I don't think James Houston is going to play, no. But maybe. I know they started.
I don't even think he's practicing yet, is he?
Well, I think they started his clock, but I don't know if that means he can get back in time.
Gotcha. I think you can have any number of players on your roster in the playoffs, right? They're not restricted to a 47 or a 53-man roster.
I think you have to be, right? Because otherwise, why wouldn't one team just go and sign up all the players that could be?
Because you still have to abide by the cap.
I mean, yeah, but
I could be wrong. I know the I know the NHL is once the playoffs come, you don't have to. You can bring your AAA, your farm team guys up and that kind of stuff. Obviously, they can't all dress, but they can all be on the team. For some reason, I was thinking the NFL is the same way. I could be wrong. If anybody knows in the chat, throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a prediction on like the outcome of the game, but I think that this will go the way that Detroit wins go, where they don't make mistakes, they get a lead, they play from the lead, and they manage the game knowing what they have to do from that point out,
Yeah.
And so if the Rams are going to win, and if they're going to win convincingly, they need to do the exact opposite. They need to get out in front, put a ton of pressure on, and force Detroit to do things that they don't want to do otherwise. And I just think that Detroit is better equipped to play its game plan than LA is equipped to do theirs in this particular environment. So,
yeah, I'm mostly just afraid of the pressure getting to not just the mental pressure, but the physical pressure. Both of those getting to our offense. The Rams have the same number of sacks we do, so they're not bad there. They've actually given up far fewer points than we have on the year. I say far fewer. It was 22 less points, so 2 points a game. I guess when I was looking at the rankings, it looked far fewer. But like they've had a stronger defense as far as giving up points than we have. They got the same amount of sacks. I do believe we have a few more turnovers though than they do. Let's see, interceptions. We've got 16 to their 10. So we got a little bit better secondary there. So hopefully that kind of stuff will pick up. So I think it's gonna be a real close game. It's gonna be a barn burner. If we can survive and win the turnover battle, I think that will do it. If we lose the turnover battle, I think that's going to be the difference maker in the game.
Yeah, I just think Detroit's the more complete roster. I will concede.
I agree.
That I think the Rams have several individually better players, but I just think the Lions' floor is higher, and I think that's what's going to be the differences. The whole time, these last 2 years, that the Lions have put up these kinds of offensive stats, I have been sitting here and I have watched the games. And I've been sitting here trying to figure out why they seem to be putting up why their offense is as good as it is. And I just can't seem to put my finger on it until I was at work today thinking about it, writing things down, making a list. And I wrote down the term consistency. And I think that they are just a consistent team where it matters the most, which is on the offensive line and at quarterback.
Yep.
And like Goff is not a world beater, but he is consistent. And like I am not concerned about the Rams defensive line outside of Donald. And I would double and or triple team him every play.
Yeah, I would double team him every play for sure. Depending on what the play is, you can't overlook Kobe Turner.
If I go into the game and I say I'm going to do this, and if Kobe Turner beats me, I'll live with it.
Yeah,
because I think that I think that if you're a football coach or Brad Holmes or Sheila Hamp, and you were like, guys, the game plan going into this week is we're going to do X. And if Kobe Turner beats us, I'm sorry, but I just don't think we can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is where I would put my money. If you said, Drew, Kobe Turner is going to make enough plays to defeat the Detroit Lions in a road playoff win, I'd be like, what are the stakes that I am getting? Because I will take it.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I'm super excited for it. 8:15 Sunday night. I kind of wish it was a day game at 1 o'clock, so I don't have to be up late on a work night. But you know what? I don't mind.
I mind. I don't want to be up late. I'm cranky.
You know what? If we blow them out by halftime, you can just go to bed.
That's a good point. I do like.
All right, let's look at the AFC. Pitt versus Buffalo. Who you got?
Buffalo.
Yeah. I'm going to throw that in chat as well. Pitt v. Buff equals Buff. Kansas City versus Miami.
I'm going to take Miami.
You're going to take Miami. Interesting. I think Kansas City's going to squeak this one out.
I don't.
No? Why do you?
Because they've never. So Miami's on the road, right? So Kansas City still gets their home playoff game.
Yep.
Which is good because I don't think that in the Mahomes era they've ever had to play on the road.
Yeah, and they've never lost.
Yeah. So
at home.
I think that changes today. The Chiefs still have Mahomes. They still have Kelsey. They still have Chris Jones. And it just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look the same as years past. And Miami, shockingly, I think is one of the top running teams in the NFL. I think so.
Interesting.
They had Mostert was way up there for yards at least, I thought. And they still have that kid Achane. Devin Achane was a rookie.
They are sixth. They have sixth most rushing yards in the NFL.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
We are fifth, by the way.
Hey, there we are. Run through the top four for me real quick.
Right there. Rushing yards.
Ravens,
Bears. By the way,
Niners,
if you don't go to lineups.com, this site is freaking awesome. So rush yards.
I just think the Finns are going to win. I like what their offense is. I mean, it doesn't require. It's about scheme, and Tua is excellent for what that offense is asking him to do. The same way that Goff is excellent for what this offense is asking him to do.
Waddle and Tyreek are two guys that's going to be tough to handle.
Pretty good. Kelsey has not had the same kind of season this year that he has had up to.
Thanks, Taylor.
That's not Taylor's fault. Stop.
Kidding.
There have been cracks. Like there was the game where something happened and there was a no call or a call or something, and Mahomes lost it.
Yeah,
it just does not feel like the same Chiefs team, and I'll just bet against that.
Yeah.
Miami has been really good all year, except when they played Baltimore. Baltimore has beaten every good team that they had a chance to play. Miami, Detroit, San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I think it's time. I think this is the changing of the guards kind of season for at least we're the ones where the Chiefs don't make it out of the second round of the playoffs. So
yeah.
I'll take
Miami's second in points, leaders in touchdowns, leaders in rush touchdowns, fourth in pass touchdowns, sixth in rushing. Their offense is killing it. I did not look at defense. So let's take a look at defense allowed points. Where are they at? They're way down here. Where's Kansas City? Am I just overlooking them?
Probably, yeah.
Where the hell is Kansas City?
They're either higher or lower, dude. They're
Oh,
second.
they're second. Holy shit! They actually gave up the second fewest amount of points in the NFL. I was expecting them to be loud down further. I'm like, where the hell did they go? Wow, that's way better than I thought.
I'm still gonna take I still think a good offense is better than a good defense, so I'm gonna take the Fins.
Yeah. I'm going to pick Kansas City only because until I see Patrick Mahomes lose at home in the playoffs, I'm going to go with that. And this might be the time that he proves me wrong, that my faith in him is unwarranted, but I'm going to go with that until they prove otherwise.
Sure.
Cleveland versus Houston. Houston, like with a runaway.
No, I don't think anybody's running away with these games. The only game on the whole slate that I think could be an absolute total blowout is Buffalo against Pitt. That's if there was a game where you're like they have to win by 14 plus, I'm picking Buffalo to beat Pitt by more than that.
Yeah, I would say Dallas Green Bay is the other one in that category.
So, I don't know. Did I hear that Flacco got hurt or can't play in this game?
Oh, no shit.
And even if he can't, I'm going to take Houston at home with the season that they've had. This is the most unbelievable story for a team in the NFL this year is what Houston has done. They were picking at 2.
Yeah.
They took an Ohio State quarterback and everybody was like, oh, Ohio State quarterbacks, helmet. And no one, they never work out. And all they did all year was play with a shit ton of heart and win a bunch of football games, way more than anybody thought. What's also interesting is if Houston wins, they own Cleveland's pick in this draft, so it gets a lot better.
No. That's funny. Yeah, I'm going to go with Houston as well.
Cleveland has more talent on defense.
Yeah, and that's why I think I've never been a Flacco fan. I've always thought that he was a bit overrated, but he's played really well the last, the 6 weeks that they got him off the couch. I'm just not sure which Flacco is going to show up. Is it going to be the same one that's been playing like a world beater for the last 6 weeks, or is it going to be the Flacco from the previous 8 years that ended him up on the couch? I think Houston's defense, Houston's got a great young coach. CJ Stroud is playing lights out. I've got Houston going on this one too. I think it's going to be a relatively close game. It's going to be a 1-score game, but I've got Houston going there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Cincinnati beat Kansas City to go to the Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Oh, that's right.
That was the Rams Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Bengals, Rams. So
yeah, that's true.
You should be like our historian.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. I'm still going with Patrick Mahomes. I'm just not gonna lie. I don't think they'll probably win the next round against Buffalo if they play them. Although they would probably play. So if we're right, Baltimore's gonna play Houston, and then Buffalo would play Kansas City in that scenario. And I just don't think that Buffalo. I think Kansas City will beat Buffalo. I'm sorry. I think Buffalo will beat Kansas City. It'll be in Buffalo, and I think that will be a big difference maker. But good call, Zaqua.
Yeah, so that's how I see him going.
All right. Since I've got this up, do you want to? Well, I'll take a quick peek at end of season grades where our boys landed.
I know you very much want to do this, so
it's a lot of fun. All right, let's take a look. So
I'm gonna get a drink of water really quick.
I'll allow it. I'm gonna zoom these in so you can see.
Oh, perfect.
So on the quarterback side, we've got Goff at number 11, which to me, last year his final grade was 20th in the NFL, and his stats were about the same this year. A little bit better last year actually than this year, but I thought he played even his grade showed his actual performance itself was a bit better. So he was at 11 in the NFL. Let's take a big peek at the receiving side of things. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown up at 7. He ended up the season with a 90-plus grade, which is elite. Tyreek Hill was killing it all year. Even Brandon Ayuk was really, really strong. Puka as a rookie, 87.9 is pretty crazy. I don't remember where Cooper Kupp ended up at a 72.4, which is still a good score, but just not what we've been used to with Cooper Kupp. He's typically been in the 90s. He started off the season injured, came back, still a little bit injured. No worries. We've already gone through the quarterbacks and the receivers.
Great.
Going quick because we want to get to that mock. On the tight end side, Hawk actually ended up having a far better score than I thought he was going to end up with. So he was third, but we got Sam Laporta at number 5. And if we want to take a look at just his rookie year, or like this draft class, he was heads and tails better than anybody else in the draft class. So high five to Brad Gnomes for that pick.
Sure.
Rushing, we've got where were they? Kyron was at 11. Montgomery was right behind him. 80 grade is pretty solid. Really good. And then Jahmyr Gibbs was at 22. 76 grade. I mean, having 2 guys above 75 is pretty damn good. Loving it. Yeah, and if we take a look at this year's running backs, we got a Chain at number 1 with a 92.4. He's been fucking awesome all year. Jaleel McLaughlin over in Denver played really well. Limited snaps, only 85. Tyjae Spears with Tennessee played really well. Jahmyr Gibbs at number 4. Bijan Robinson way down at still 69.1 is pretty solid, but someone as highly touted as him at his draft pick position, I would expect him up in this area. On the defense side, we got Hutch in the top 10 again in over 90, that elite mark of 90. So I was pretty excited to see that. For rookies, Will Anderson had his big year. He had a huge year. 81.8 is pretty solid. Nick Herbig, I've never heard of.
He went to Wisconsin.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, they just Pittsburgh blitzes their linebackers like constantly. So
gotcha.
He had a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, there's the Byron Young I was telling you about. He's played really, really well for the LA. He started off not particularly great, but as rookies do, they get better as they play. I thought he played a lot better the last half dozen games. Let's take a peek at linebackers. Noah Sewell. I know we were talking about, like, do we draft him in the mid rounds or not? We both kind of decided we shouldn't, but he had a great year.
He played 27 snaps.
Well, that's true. But they were 27 good snaps.
They were.
This was the one that I wanted to bring up because I was shocked. Jelani Tavai, former Lion, just a shit ton of snaps and played really well. But let's see where our Detroit Lions are. Where are we? We not in the top 50 anymore?
Well,
you know what I'm going to do?
Anzalone has to be.
I thought so too. Anzalone. He is 40th.
Wow.
So he was in the top 40. He was around 15 for a good chunk of the year.
Yeah.
But right there, let's take a peek at our draftees. Ivan Pace played really well. Jack Campbell was a giant disappointment, but so were the other guys. Drew Sanders, I know, was relatively highly mocked.
Yeah.
But
Do you know where Ivan Pace went in the draft?
Let's
He
see
didn't.
here. Just tell
He
me.
was a
Oh,
UDFA.
I was gonna say. There was, I remember there was some sort of meme or stat that just talked about based on the rookie linebackers the last several years. You should just never draft a linebacker. You can always get equivalent play cheaply in the free agent market at almost every opportunity.
Yes, that's correct.
Which is, I think, one of the reasons why we were so disappointed in that pick. Cornerbacks, ours did not play well. Brian Branch, the exception, he played really well.
I think this is because they list nickel as a corner, as opposed to a safety. So that's fine. It is kind of a hybrid role, but like, there's a lot of people in the fandom, like on Facebook or social media, that are all over Cam Sutton. And here's what I'll say about Cam Sutton. He's not going to have scored well on PFF's grading system. He is an actual cornerback, however. He's an actual cornerback. And like, yes, he didn't score well at all, but he's a real corner, and the Lions didn't have one last year, and now they have one. So is he more of a CB2? Sure. Considering they had CB0, like he is being asked to do more than I think that he is capable of currently doing, which is why corner is going to be one of the biggest offseason needs for this team.
Yeah, I think he tried to do too much. I think there was too much placed on him, and that's not the position you can do that with. And because of that, I think he struggled.
I've had
coverage grade.
I've had like 110 ounces of water today. I don't know what's going on.
So what you're saying is you're going to stop for a bathroom break here at some point?
Crazy.
So this was Detroit's cornerback room. Let's take a peek at the draft year. We're going to filter out for a minimum number of snaps.
That. Devin Witherspoon was really, really good.
Yeah, and Brian Branch was, I would say, right behind him. He's number 2, but like that's not right behind. That's a ways behind.
And let's be clear, they're not playing the same position. Like Devin Witherspoon is an outside corner. So So Zake, I want to expand on something that Zake just said here. 101 pressures is insane. Hutch has absolutely taken a leap this year.
Trying to find it.
He's absolutely right. Like Aiden Hutchinson doubled the amount of pressures that he generated from his rookie year to this year. He doubled his pass rush win rate, which I continue to not be able to say without consciously thinking about it. And like, I think that he had 9.5 sacks his rookie year, and he had 11.5 sacks this year. So this guy is going to be, through 2 years, is, somewhere between 50 and 100 pressures, 10 sacks a year. Like, get this dude a tag team partner.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I'm currently looking forward to doing. Go out and sign Leonard Floyd from the Bills and put him across from Hutch. That's a 8-9 sack a year guy across the 10 sack a year guy. I would love that. I would think that would just go get some veteran pass rusher. Hutch has already got moves, I think he's really good.
Yeah. So he's got 11 sacks. It's not going to be TJ Watt numbers and Trey Hendrickson. Trey, obviously, this is his best year ever. But like, these are not going to be TJ Watt numbers, but like, take a look at the total pressures. He's number 2 behind Micah Parsons, one of 2 people over 100. Hit leads the NFL in hits. Hurries, he's number 2. Like, sack, he didn't quite get to the finish line as much as some of these other guys did, but his total pressures and the number of hits and hurries and everything else is really, really good. And he's tied for 9th in batted down balls. He's been phenomenal. Getting another guy to run alongside him would be huge.
Yeah. So I like where we're going. I just don't think that we're there yet. And I'm terrified that we're going to lose our coordinators and have to readjust for scheme.
Yeah. And then Ife Malafanu, I want to give a shout out, top 10 safety. He played really well. Fewer snaps because he was coming back later in the season from injury, but he played lights out.
I just want to rep Jabril Peppers there at 5. Went to Michigan, one of my all-time faves. Yeah, I think so. There's going to be we're going to have to at some point have a real conversation about what the offseason looks like, because you've got 5 safeties. You can't have 5 safeties.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see what we kind of do there. After the playoffs are over, what let us down? Where did it go wrong? Or are we going to take a big parade down Michigan Ave? Right. If we're going to take a parade down Michigan Ave, now we get to say, like, how do we keep this strong team? What do we need to keep where we're at and raise that floor a little bit more? So yeah, that's defensive lineman. Aaron Donald, shocker, another plus 90.
This is
Jalen Carter.
10th year in the Pro Bowl and going to be an all-pro.
Yeah, he's been, I think, all-pro 9 out of 9 years and Pro Bowl 10 out of 10, I think.
In a row, something
like that. But big shout-out to Ali McNeil. He did get injured and played a little bit fewer snaps because of that, but, like, he played top 6 in the NFL. He was really, really good.
Who was 5?
Jalen Carter.
Oh, interesting. Weird.
Yep. About the same number of snaps.
Would have hated to have them play next to each other. Oh, that would have been terrible.
Yeah. There's Kobe Turner. He's the other rookie, the guy that I was telling you about. He's let's take I'm kind of curious rookies wise. So we got Carter and Turner, real close on pressures. Turner matched Donald's rookie sack record. But Jalen Carter got a few more hurries. I'm not looking forward to Kobe Turner and Aaron Donald both coming at us. That has me a little nervous. But
I know you're nervous.
Yeah, I want us to win so fucking bad, Drew. You have no idea. It just makes me nervous. This was the one team I did not, because I've watched every game and I've seen what they do and like what their strengths are and stuff like that, and they kind of match up with what some of our weaknesses are, and I'm like, I just don't want to see it. I want us to fucking win. I would much rather have them match up against like Dallas instead of us, but I don't always get what I want for some reason.
Yeah, I just like my my mom has recently started watching Michigan football with us, and so when we played Bama, we were watching the game together, and she was just freaking out, and I was like, "You're just gonna have to have some faith that they're gonna do what they're supposed to do," you know. So
yeah,
you're just gonna have to have a little faith, Mike. And I mean, like, and let's be real. Let's just be real for a second. It will be great if the Lions win a playoff game. Period. Right? It will just be great. If for some reason they don't, I still think this was a great season.
Oh, 100%
for this team. They won the division.
They won the division. Yeah.
I mean, like, and I don't think there's any shame in it, but yes, it would be disappointing.
Yeah. It would be a great season. I think you and I both talked around that 12-win mark. Was what we kind of estimated, and we hit that. To your point earlier, like what we've done is we've raised our floor up. Yeah. Right. The worst that we can do is so much better than the worst that we could have done last year. Right. We just need to keep raising that floor up. Because that's how you win against those games that you didn't play your best, but your floor was higher than theirs. So you still end up pulling those games out, and I think that we've done that quite a bit each year, the last couple of years. So, let's. Any other stats? Any other guys that we want to take a look at where they ranked in their draft class or anything like that?
I'll let the chat decide on that one. Iffy was the guy that I was kind of curious about because it's his 3rd year. He's been hurt the first 2 years. You know, and he was certainly trending like this guy looks like he's going to bust out.
Yeah.
not like and be successful.
Right.
He's going
like
to
be a bust.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they put him in, and this is very clearly the difference between what the coaching staff sees and what we can see, is that they put him in 4 or 5 games ago, and I'm like, Ify Melifonwu was on the field and Tracy Walker is healthy. Why?
Yeah.
And like I didn't think that Tracy was playing that bad. But ever since they've put Melifonwu in, like he's been responsible for like 4 turnovers and has just played great football.
3 sacks.
Yeah. So if anybody out there, and I've already said this once, but if anyone out there is like, Hutch isn't getting sacks, he's no good. This whole thing that they've been doing with their delayed blitz the last 2 or 3 weeks, they will blitz the opposite side of whatever Hutch is on, and they send a linebacker and then a safety into the same gap. And Melifonwu,
You only can take care of one of those bad boys.
And Melifonwu has all of his sacks on those plays.
Yeah.
So if you don't have Hutch, you don't have that. So
Yep.
let's just, I'm sure everybody in chat is, but let's be super appreciative of Aiden Hutchinson. So,
all right. Well, seeing no other stat recommendations or whatnot, I will stop sharing my screen. Did you want to do a mock?
Yeah, you should run it though. You're good at that.
All right, I can do it. Which where do we want to do? PFF or? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, PFF. So the top 18 is set in stone until a trade is made. By the way, the Titans came out today after firing Mike Vrabel. Moronically firing Mike Vrabel. And they said that they didn't trade him because it was too complicated and they wanted to get going. You don't need to set the speed because we're going to be doing every pick.
Okay.
So just do the select all feature up in the upper right-hand corner right next to rounds, and then just hit start. Or enter draft. Yeah. So if you are going to not trade something because it's quote unquote too complicated, you should be fired. It involves a goddamn phone call. You got to be kidding me. Anyways, rant over. Okay, so if anyone wants to chat, we're going to do the mock now.
Yeah.
So Mike, you and I, what's going to happen is we're going to make these, we're going to have a talk about the scenarios that we're going to sit here and we're just kind of we're going to breeze through it real quick. And then we're just going to kind of come to a consensus on who should be picked. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we have the Bears on 1 and Caleb Williams. My question to you, Mike, is at this point next year, are you comfortable with giving Justin Fields $260 million? If he's the same guy that he was this last year, are you comfortable with giving Justin Fields $260 million?
If he's the same guy, probably not. Do I expect him to grow over the next season? Yes. If he can take a step up, I think he's probably going to be worth it.
So if you're the Bears and you're Ryan Poles and you didn't draft Justin Fields, are you going to effectively bet $260 million today that he's going to be that player that's going to take a step a year from now? Because that's what's going. That's what you have to make that's
right.
The choice.
So my thought, if I'm the Chicago Bears, if I'm thinking on the Chicago Bears side, I'm thinking we have a quarterback. He's got a lot of athletic talent. He's raw, right? He makes a lot of mistakes. There's still a lot of learning to happen. But have I set him up for failure? Have I set him up for success? And if I've set him up for failure, how do we know what he's capable of without giving him the tools for success? So I personally would not draft a Caleb Williams or Drake May. I would draft Marvin Harrison. I would try to trade back a couple picks.
Sure.
Let's be real. But if I couldn't, for whatever reason, because Washington and the Pats, whatever, are cool with taking whatever quarterbacks, in their spot, I take Marvin Harrison Jr. here if I'm Chicago. I think there's enough potential in him that we don't know yet that's the thing. And if we're wrong, we're probably going to be drafting here again next year.
And you'll be fired.
So, well, potentially, yeah.
So if I'm Ryan Poles and I want to continue to be the general manager of a professional football team, I go to my owner and I say, I got here the year after you drafted Justin. He's not my guy. We don't know who the number one pick in the 2025 draft is going to be. We know we know who Caleb Williams is. Let's reset the money, get some picks from trading Justin, and give me 2 years with what they've got cap wise and the rest of their picks outside of this one, because they pick at 9 to make this roster something that's going to make Caleb and therefore the Bears successful. So I would take Caleb Williams here and trade.
So what after watching Bryce Young,
yeah,
and they're very similar players.
Players. Bryce Young and Caleb Williams are alike in almost no way, shape, or form. Caleb's bigger. He's got a better arm. He exhibits all the traits that you want from a modern day NFL quarterback. Comparing him to Bryce Young and the Bears roster to the Panthers roster are just night and day difference.
Oh, roster is definitely quite a bit different, right? Yeah. So I guess the question is, are you worried about Caleb Williams' worst play this year, or regression, if you will, compared to his Heisman Trophy winning year, his potential attitude problem? That's not what then he needs to have a different media guy because he seems to have an attitude problem.
Because he says he decided where he wanted. He came up with a list of where he wanted to play. Is that where
is Chicago one of those on the list?
I think that no. I cannot remember the last. So what was it? Eli Manning.
Yeah,
was the last guy that was like, I just won't play for you.
Right.
And that was 20 years ago. So, I don't think that really happens.
Are you going to bet your job on it?
Yes. I'm going to bet my job that the last 20 years have not had a situation like that. Yes.
Well, until Eli, that didn't happen since
Elway.
John Elway, 20 years before. So we're about due.
Well, maybe. But, I'm going to bet that, I can say to Caleb Williams, this is what we're going to do in Chicago, and we're going to take you. And they can still draft him and trade him.
Yeah. I think that's where, when you do your pre-draft interviews and stuff like that, if I'm Chicago, I figure out, does he want to be here? Is he willing to do this? Is he willing to play on a bad team for a year as we build around him? I would really look at that attitude and personality piece. So we'll go with you. Well, I don't think that it's going to be. I wouldn't. I would draft Marvin Harrison because I think Fields has the tools to be successful as an athlete. I don't think the team has provided him the tools for the team to be successful. But we'll go with Caleb because that's probably the more likely. Well, I don't know if it's more likely or not.
You can't. The Bears are either taking a quarterback or trading the pick. They're not going to take
correct
Harrison at 1.
You don't think so?
No, it would be malpractice. You should be fired immediately. So,
all right, we're going to go with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, we'll go with Caleb Williams. This is Drake May in Washington, and it's not close.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is the first, I think, real decision-making point in the draft, and it's what do the Patriots do? Is Bill Belichick the coach?
I don't think so. I think he officially was not.
So do you think Mike Vrabel's the next coach? Do you think Gerard Mayo's the next coach of the New England Patriots? Who would you put money on?
I honestly have no idea. I don't think it'll be
Mayo or Vrabel.
You think so?
Because Kraft knows both those guys.
Well, that's true. I can see maybe. I think Vrabel, if anybody, because I think that.
Let's just say it's Vrabel.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Vrabel.
then
So-
they're not doing anything different, right? It's the Tennessee Titans now in Boston, right?
Right.
Because that's what Vrabel does.
The Boston Patriots.
Correct.
I like that name.
Boston Titans. Tennessee Patriots. So
Yeah.
So to me, if Vrabel
Hovering around over the Mac Jones replacement button.
I mean, like, so this is the case. So here's the thing, right? So like Zaqua's helping out in chat. I appreciate that, Zaqua.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels from LSU at 3. Zaqua, let me ask you what you think of this. Sign Russell Wilson in the offseason. You can get him for the minimum because the Broncos are going to pay him $40 million.
I think he's washed.
I'm just.
I thought he was overrated in Seattle. I think he's washed now.
Well, I don't disagree, but like, what do you think they will do?
I don't think they would. I
You
think they
go
draft
quarterback.
I think they do.
Okay, let's take Jaden.
You got a new GM because he's handing over GM duties, I believe.
Andy Dalton.
What's that?
I'd rather sign Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I think they go Jaden Daniels.
Okay. This is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I think so. There's not much. I think he's got to go super fast. He is a talent.
So this is another interesting pick because the media analysts are giving them tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to give somebody that Justin Herbert can throw the ball to. Because
who do they have now? They've got
so Keenan Allen is in like his 10th or 11th season.
Yeah.
Mike Williams was hurt all last year and is owed something like $24 million, and there's like $40 million over the cap. So they're going to have to clear $60 million.
So they got a young Quentin Johnson
who did nothing his rookie season. They're losing Austin Eckler, and their tight end is also a free agent. So they literally have nobody to throw the ball to.
I'm not drafting a tight end at 5, though. I don't care how good Brock Bowers is. I just don't think I'm drafting a tight end at 5.
See, I think that I would have the discussion about him at 5.
Yeah.
Because he's not really a tight end. If Kyle Pitts is the tight end, then Brock Bowers is the tight end. But they're both not tight ends. They're both just wide receivers that are huge.
Yeah.
So I think that the guy that I would probably go with, though, for like the reason that I think that you brought up with Bowers, is I would go with Neighbors.
Yeah.
And just say, all right, grow up. Grow up together.
Yep.
So that's a problem because I think that the Giants desperately wanted a wide receiver. And let's see, Ravers.
What about Odunze's available?
He is. So would you go? Because this is like Odunze, I think, is like the last elite wide receiver that they have. I think there's 3 of them in this class, and 2 of them are gone.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is way down at 21.
Yeah, he's good, but he's not these 3 guys.
He's not top 10 worthy.
Right. So would you go Odunze, or would you take the first tackle off the board?
They do have OL listed, which means their whole offensive line is garbage, right?
It's pretty bad. They have a good left. Coleman, I would have. Okay, so if we were Steve-O, if we were doing this like week 6 of the college football season, I would have said yeah, but we're not, and so I can't. But I think Coleman's gonna be a fun player.
So are you thinking like, do we go Alt or do we go Odunze?
To me, I would go Odunze. If I'm the GM of the Giants, I would pick Odunze here just because I think that so many of their wide receivers are like carbon copies of one another that I need someone who's different so I can differentiate roles in the offense. And like Odunze gives them that. And like, I don't think that you could be questioned about doing it. And like, they have invested so much in their O-line that they got to give it a chance to grow up a little bit. So
Well, and they put a lot of money into Danny Dimes, right? You need to give him as much opportunity to be successful as possible, and that means targets.
this is Joe Alt. I would bet my house on this pick if Joe Alt
Yeah.
was here.
Well, we're only going to be betting $1.
Oh,
So
that's true. I'll probably
thankfully for you, you'll only have to deal with $1.
So here's my question: if you're Atlanta,
Yep.
I don't think you can go into. It is very good. It is a very good wide receiver class this year. You're right. If you're going into next season, I think you have to address quarterback. So I would love Justin Fields in Atlanta's offense. Love it.
Yeah, I could see that being a trade partner if they definitely wanted to get Caleb Williams. I think this is where you trade Fields too.
Yeah, so I don't think that they can really. So I guess my question is I didn't think that Penix played poorly in the national title game, but I did.
His offensive line was fucking Swiss cheese.
It was not great.
Like,
so
he got pounded. Like, especially the last quarter, it seemed like every single time 2 guys came from the left side of the line completely untouched. And I'm like, I'm seeing this. How is it your offensive coordinator isn't recognizing that maybe, just maybe, you should have a running back to stop that guy, or put a tight end over there every fucking time? Like, whoop, whoop, whoop. And you're just like, you deserve this. You're bringing this on yourself.
Michigan really teed off in the fourth quarter on Penix. But like, I didn't think that Penix played badly, but I did think like the things that you would be concerned about Penix were on display, which was he got a little beat up. He wasn't always pinpoint accurate, and there's reasons for that. But did he look like a first round pick is the question. He's got the combine. He's got the Senior Bowl to get that arrow trending upwards. Interviews are always important.
Yep.
But I think that the last thing that he put on tape wasn't his best. So I don't know if I don't know how much that's gonna hurt him.
So let's do this, because we decided that Caleb Williams is going to Chicago.
Sure.
We also decided that they have to be trading Justin Fields.
Right.
This seems like the best place for that to be.
So it happens, but off campus. So I don't think so.
This is yeah.
Even if they trade Justin, so let's say this happens and they trade Justin Fields, I don't think that they give up the 8th pick.
I don't think so. I think they go something like second round this year, second round next year.
Yeah, that makes a lot.
And then they get Justin Fields.
Yeah.
It says 100%. I don't know, maybe first round next year.
Well, the simulator is not based entirely in logic. I like
They're not interested.
I don't think Atlanta would do it. So I think 2 2s is fine. I think that's a nice little thing.
All right.
So, yeah, so that happened.
So now they've got Justin Fields on their roster, and they still have the 8th pick. So they no longer need a quarterback, but they need a target. They don't need a tight end because they've got Kyle Pitts. But they definitely need a wide receiver target, and they need some defense. Is this the time where you take a guy like Cooper DeJean or DeJean? DeJean. Okay.
And okay, yeah. So we're kind of close. Let's say that the Falcons lost the negotiation on that one, Steve. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I like Cooper DeJean. And I think if you put him in a
is he the white guy? The guy that's like the only white guy that's drafted in the first round, expected to go in the first round in like 30 years or something?
At corner?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's dynamic.
Yeah.
You can play him anywhere in their secondary. So I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind Cooper DeJean to Atlanta. Maybe a Dallas Turner as a pass rusher, but yeah, I like Cooper DeJean.
All right, let's do that.
This is Olu Fashional.
Yep.
Easily. Which means that the Jets are furious because they ended up losing the best, maybe the best tackle prospect, one pick ahead of them. So,
do they go Newton, or do they take the next best tackle?
I would think that if you're looking to improve this Jets team the most, I think that you would take the tackle, because the defense was the strength of the team. So if you're looking to improve a negative, I think it's better to do it on the offensive line. I don't think they only run zone, but they play a lot of zone. But Cooper DeJean can do, I think, anything that you want him to do. He's pretty versatile. Do the Vikings have to draft a quarterback here?
No. I think, if anything, this showed how much Kirk Cousins meant to that team and how well he played with that team. And I think they re-signed him on a 2-year deal. 1 year guaranteed, probably $40-ish million, maybe 45. I don't know. I'm guessing around $42 million per year for 2 years.
Well, so quarterback's not a problem then. So then I think the next biggest deal is pass rusher.
Yep. They've got Danielle Hunter. I think he's on. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he's on going into free agency. I would expect them to try to re-sign him if they can, but he's going to need a running buddy as well.
Right. So I think the best pass rusher in this class is Leatau Latu from UCLA. Mm-hmm. But I could see them. He has medical concerns. He once retired from football because they didn't think that he was going to be able to play again. Then he transferred to UCLA, which has an amazing medical facility, and got a second opinion. And they thought, nope, you can. And he went out and had a great year. But there are like legitimate.
Good. Holy shit.
Yeah. There are like legitimate medical concerns with that guy. So you have to have the medical signed off on. If the medical signed off on by your doctors, it's this guy. If there's any question marks, I think it's Dallas Turner from Bama.
All right, where are we going here then? Well, this guy, because we have to.
This guy looks like he could be totally elite. So,
I think, is this where all of a sudden, like a guy like Michael Penix or Penix?
Drew Brees. I mean, like,
do we go Bo Nix? Do we go? Who's the guy that just won the national championship?
Okay, so let me talk about JJ McCarthy just real quickly.
Because I didn't even see him on the list here.
I love JJ because he's like in the 40s. But like, I love JJ McCarthy. I think he's going to have a really tough time.
Yeah.
Adjusting to the NFL. I think that he's going to be perfect for a team like San Francisco, who wants to cut the field in half, roll the guy out of the pocket, throw on the run. JJ throws the ball better on the run than any other quarterback in the draft. Actually throwing on the run, not making plays outside of structure, throwing the ball on the run. Michael Penix is the guy that Sean Payton's going to want. I'm virtually certain of it because he plays exceptionally similar to Drew Brees.
All right. So I would go with Penix.
Which is terrible because here's another team that needs a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you still have Bo Nix available.
I think we just do that, to be honest.
I think so too. Hey, another team that could use a quarterback.
Yeah, but I think that they're probably going to pay Derek Carr one more year. To me,
I was thinking this might be where Russell Wilson lands.
Yeah. I do think the Saints would take a big hit by getting Carr off the roster.
Okay.
So
quarterback is not going to be a thing they're looking for this draft, then, you think? Either they're going to keep Carr on there, or they're going to probably go with a guy like Russell.
Something like that. So Zake was saying Brock Bowers. I could see that. Like, he's a receiving threat. You have Olave. I'm not gonna call Michael Thomas a player for the Saints anymore. He's just been hurt too long. The other dude, Rasheen Shaheen, has developed into a really nice player. So like you could bolster their receiving core for whomever's playing quarterback, and like you might be able to pick up a dude in the second round that might be like, okay, like we'll see what this guy's about or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, so Mike, is it between Brock Bowers and Johnny Newton? He's the
I think probably
pass rushing defensive tackle. So
yeah, I think it's probably that. I don't think their offensive line is bad enough where you want to reach at this point. And not that Latham's a reach per se, but like I think you're probably just better off with one of those other two guys. I think they're more of a sure fit in what you need.
So which one would you take here if you were the Saints?
Well, we got Derek Carr. I think I would go with Bowers.
Okay.
Want to give Carr every chance to succeed and be worth the money that you're already paying him.
Okay. That's a real bummer because I think Indianapolis would have loved to have Bowers. So to me, for Indy, I would go Nate Wiggins here. Like he's a really good corner. Everybody in the NFL always needs more corners. There's no one that has too many corners.
Is their offensive line a concern?
I think that their offensive line could use work. So, like, could you talk me into Latham? If he could play left tackle, which I don't think that he can. He's 6'6", 360. So I think that he is a right tackle that you try at tackle. Well, they list him at 335, but he's like 360. Yeah. I think that you try him at right tackle, and if he doesn't work out, you can just put him at guard, and he'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to draft a guard, worst case scenario, at the 15th pick?
Yeah, I think that's where, because you got Anthony Richardson, right, as your franchise quarterback. I mean, that's just such a big key to being able to be successful. So if you've got a young franchise quarterback, I would always lean toward giving them the tools to do what they need to do to get that side of the ball successful. Okay, so I would lean toward a wide receiver or a tackle to just help that piece that you committed to last year.
I mean, Brian Thomas wouldn't be a bad choice. He's like 6'4", 220. They could lose Michael Pittman to free agency. I don't
played really strong against some good teams. Florida State was good early. Georgia was good all the time.
Yep.
Struggled against Alabama.
Well, if you look at the list, he struggled against teams that have like draftable corners.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, he's still. I mean, you can't teach 6'4". I mean, that's
right.
the thing. So I mean, I wouldn't mind Brian Thomas here. I think that's probably
Brian.
it makes a lot of sense. Guard, center, edge. We're gonna have to take an edge player eventually, right?
Yeah, and I think the Seahawks need to get back on that, get that defensive side of the ball back up to where it was. I mean, that was what won them championships, and that's dropped off quite a bit over time. So I would go with an edge here.
Yeah,
let's do it.
I also think that this is where I know that they have edge listed, which I think is weird. So like, if they're listed,
but is it Brian Burns that's there?
No, that's
no.
He's in Carolina.
Who's the guy from Josh Allen?
And don't forget Trayvon Walker, who did have 10 sacks this year.
He did.
Yeah, congrats, Trayvon. You dumb it. Okay. So like, so I guess the question is, if they are listing edge, they are either saying that Josh Allen leaves or you're playing Trayvon inside. So,
right.
So what do you do? I guess is like, if I look at the board, I don't want to take a guard. I don't want to take a center. I could take a corner. So do I want to take the third edge or the second corner?
I think you go edge.
Then it's Verse.
All right. It gives you the most leeway as well when it comes to do you want to trade Josh Allen and still have something there down the road, or maybe you just let Allen run through his contract. I think that gives you the most flexibility.
This is Johnny Newton, and I don't even think they would entertain train calls. I think they would just run their ticket up.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the 18 that are locked in. Do you want to do the rest of the first round?
Sure. I mean, what does chat want to do? I'm always willing to talk.
Well, Zakwa and Steve are the two most
chatty,
chatty. That's a good way to put it. So I mean, like, but neither
one
of
of
them
them
was posted in a few minutes. So if we get a vote either way from either one of them in the next 10 or 15 seconds, we can. That'll be the deciding factor, I suppose. Might as well.
All right, let's do it. All right. Green Bay, running back, tackle, defensive line, and safety.
I want them to take a tackle.
Right.
But they draft defense. Oh, Donkey Kong says he's just patiently waiting for the lines. You know what, Donkey Kong?
Love it.
That is real mature of you, and I appreciate the fact that you're being this patient. Thank you.
Yes.
And I did think that they would be upset if we didn't do the Lions, so that makes a lot of sense. I do think they draft defense so much in the first round.
Yep.
The Packers. So, like, to me, this is one of two things. It's either Amarius Mims to replace David Bakhtiari, or it's Tyler Nubin, the safety from Minnesota.
I think you got to go tackle to give. Again, you're trying to figure out what can Jordan Love do at the end of this season. You're going to want to figure out, do I want to re-sign this guy, extend him? And you want to give him every opportunity to succeed and figure out what he does. So I would go with Mims.
Donkey Kong also thinks Mims. So, like, I'm not
Mims. Well, I don't know if Donkey Kong thinks Mims, maybe I should.
Wait a second.
I'm just kidding.
All right.
Just kidding. Tampa Bay, for a playoff team, they have a lot of damn needs. That's crazy.
They won a really bad division.
So what's the best way to boost their floor? Is it defense?
Zakwa wants them to draft a corner. I don't know
where I was leaning.
Or zone or man, because if it's zone, you go Wiggins. And if it's man, I think you go Arnold. So I don't know what Tampa Bay does. Does anybody know what Todd Bowles likes to run? I think the better corner overall is Wiggins. So Donkey Kong says BPA, so let's give him Wiggins.
All right.
Okay. Well, they just got a little bit better on their pass defense. This is the Cardinals' second pick. We had them taking Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
So check mark there. I mean, they're basically drafting AJ Green. So congrats to the Arizona Cardinals. I would give them Latham here.
Oof. That's going to piss off Les Snead so bad. They need a tackle. That's exactly where I was aiming for Rams on the next pick, was they needed a tackle.
Mike, this is all you. So
do your thing. The Rams, their biggest problem is their offensive line and their secondary. I don't know how deep the draft is at corner or at tackle. So if tackle's not as deep, I would take the best tackle and grab secondaries in their in the future rounds.
Then you're going tackle.
Then I'm going tackle, unless there is if like one of these guys is an actual like immediate game changer. Doesn't have to be like Sauce Gardner good or anything, but they just need to be like, is any of them Brian Branch?
No.
Okay. I would go tackle then.
Okay.
And then the next two picks would probably be cornerbacks if I was Les Snead.
I gotcha.
I mean, they could throw a first round pick at Jalen Ramsey. I heard that works well.
Yeah, it does. So I think the thing that gets Pittsburgh back to where they have been traditionally is elite offensive line play, and there's no one left. I think that they drafted Joey Porter in round 2 last year. I think it was round 2, not the end of the first round. And I think they probably go back to the well. So Terrian Arnold is the higher upside corner. Kool-Aid McKinstry is the higher floor corner.
And he's got a cool name. Not that Terrian isn't a cool name, but Kool-Aid.
So I don't care which of those two guys it is, Mike. You can make the call. But I think it's one of those two guys.
Average draft. So what is considered best player available? Average draft position from the mocks or PFF ranks?
The rank.
The rank. Bam.
So those are the horrible needs. So if I was the Dolphins and this actually happened, I would try and trade out. But I just looks awful. Oh, so here's what I'll say. Jalen Phillips got hurt. Nick Chubb got hurt at the end of the season. They could draft edge insurance in case neither one of them are able to go at the beginning of next year.
Right.
So maybe this is Braswell.
All right. We'll do that.
Okay. It's McKinstry.
Yeah.
This is McKinstry running to the podium to draft him. I know who I was
calling. I got to hang up. Kansas City. I think you go with a wide receiver here, don't you?
I do.
Go with Ladd McConkey or Troy Franklin.
I like Franklin a little bit better than McConkey, but I don't know that you could really be. I mean, if you could easily have them flip flopped on your internal big board.
Yeah. 9 drops. 14 missed tackles forced. Let's take a look at what McConkey does. 2 drops. 9 missed tackles forced. His yards after catch isn't as good, right? 6.3.
I will say that traditionally Kansas City has favored smaller, quicker receivers.
Yeah.
So I think both of these guys kind of fit that role.
6'3", 187, and we've got 6'0", 185.
Steve-O says Franklin all day.
All right, well, let's do Franklin.
Okay. Now we've got the upstart Houston Texans. There's no linebacker worth taking. They could take McConkey. Ever. Right. Here, there's no tight end worth taking. The wide receivers have been kind of picked over, although I think you could make the case for either Walker or McConkey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do this because it's the pick ahead of the Lions, but Braylon Trice makes a lot of sense, I think, for this team because Braylon Trice is the dude that I want to draft for the Lions.
Do they need him? They've got Will Anderson Jr.
Yep.
Who's on the other side of Will?
No idea.
Well, then we probably need him. Right? Same reason we need a running buddy for Hutch. They need somebody on the other side of Will.
Yeah, 100%. So here's the Lions have not drafted at 28 for a minute. Okay. So they haven't, and they may not draft at 28. This is just a projection based on record after the 18th.
I hope not.
Right. So
I want to draft in the 30s.
Okay. And chat, this is the pick. So now I want you guys typing and sending me your thoughts here real quick. I think the biggest need on this team is a corner.
Agreed.
And we are looking at something like the 5th.
Is that because there's not an edge rusher up there? Like, no. Do we need a corner more than we need a running buddy for Hutch?
The way that I look at it is if Braylon Trice was on the board at this pick, I would just pick Trice.
Yeah.
So the Lions have Aquara, Harris, all up. Their contracts are all up. So you're losing 3 edges that rotated for you in some amount. We have no idea. This was the season we were supposed to figure out what James Houston is. He didn't play. The thing is, I hope they get a CB in free agency. Now,
I think we will.
Of the 5 top position groups in the NFL, corner is the one that does make it to free agency. So you have the opportunity to get an upper echelon corner in free agency more so than you do quarterback, wide receiver, edge rusher, tackle. So
I wouldn't mind trying to make a run for Danielle Henry or Danielle Hunter or Burns or Josh Allen either, if they're willing to make a trade.
If they're willing to make a trade.
Yeah.
Any of those players I think would be great. So this
is something I want. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Keep going.
These two, the 2 most recent posts, I do want to touch on each. If he makes it to free agency, L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City is the corner I would like to see the Lions go after in free agency. And if they think that they can't get an edge rusher worth the pick at this spot, I think Leonard Taylor. Oh, you mean the DL? Okay, I thought
from Miami.
I saw Floyd
from the U.
I read it. Yeah, okay. So I read
real
it.
U of M.
Okay, stop it. So I read that as Leonard Floyd, the pass rusher from Buffalo, who I would absolutely approach in free agency. But okay, so let's talk about Leonard Taylor. You have, you've already cut Bugs. Benito Jones' contract is up. You drafted Broderick Martin. You're going to extend Aleem McNeil. And Kaminsky's got 1 more year on his deal. So you are going to have some kind of interior rotation of McNeil, Martin, Kaminsky, Pascal, maybe Jones if you re-sign him. That's 5 DTs. So can they afford? I mean, you're probably not re-signing Jones at that point. But at this point on the roster, they will have signed those guys. This will take place at the end of April. So
all right.
I don't think they're in a position to take an interior defensive lineman, especially like this on the board. And I don't think there's a pass rusher worth it at this pick. So I think my pick on this board is Rakestraw.
Okay, I want to bring one thing up.
Oh, God.
I think the Lions could be at that Les Snead, fuck them picks point in their build.
Sure.
Where we can start taking, especially late round picks, right? If we're drafted at 28 and taking that and trying to get the guys like Burns or Allen or whatever, right? So I am going to be really curious. I mean, obviously we can't figure that out. We would know that by the time the draft comes around. So at this point, we did not spend our first round pick because I see it right there on the board. But I'm really curious to see if Brad Holmes goes into that F them picks mantra or mindset of our draft picks can be assets not for necessarily just rookies, but high end trade targets. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to go. But yes, considering at this point we have this draft pick, we have not done a F them picks yet to trade for a guy. I think Rakestraw is the guy.
So yeah, I do think that the Lions should be more open to that philosophy. Let's see, turning 2 late first round picks into an impact player sounds pretty good right now. I agree with that. Is the best guard still available? Sure, if you're looking at a pure guard. But there's a lot of guards that I think that you are going to be able to get rounds 2 or 3, Steve-O. Someone like Christian Mahogany from BC, or I think it's Christian Hayes from UConn. Would both be excellent picks. Plus, you also have someone like Zach Zinter, who got hurt at the end of the year, that you might be able to pick up in the 4th. Just because he got hurt and he might slide down boards. So I think that while I think your approach is good, I think that you can get excellent value at that position a round or even 2 rounds later. Remember, the Lions have 2 third-round picks in this draft. And then what about the DT from Michigan, Jenkins? I would love to. I throw as many Wolverine players on the Lions as possible. That would be great. But like, I just don't think that you need to take Jenkins in the first round. This is a wide receiver.
McConkey?
Yeah. This is a
Walker?
So Walker is a go deep guy. So if you want Josh Allen to have somebody to throw absolute bombs to, it's this guy.
18.2.
I mean, he's an absolute deep threat.
Yeah.
So this I feel like is more of like your slot, eat up targets, Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of do.
Who do they need? Which one do you think they need more?
I think that I would take the go deep guy with Josh Allen.
Yeah. All right, let's do that. Walker.
The fucking Cowboys. Neat. So I would give them Lassiter just because it says they need a corner. I don't understand why they're getting Diggs back next year. They have Bland. I don't know why they need another corner, but sure.
You know what? They could be dumb. They could go with like safety.
You know what? I'm not too thrilled with them, so let's have them be dumb.
All right. I mean, if you're gonna be dumb, you might as well be smart dumb and go with the player from the U. So, yeah. I mean, sorry, best player available.
That's right.
BPA.
Yeah. BPU.
San Francisco offensive line cornerback. Do they just take Lassiter here, or do they drop down and try to they got Trent Williams on the left, right? So
Trent Williams is great. Fontenot makes a lot of sense. I think for them, he's going to be a guard in the NFL.
Yeah.
And like if I was the 49, like the 49ers are so deep that they're sending away third round picks for like, oh, that's another thing. Talking about pass rushers, like Chase Young's going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
I don't
true.
know what the Lions cap looks like. How is Keon Coleman not in the top 32 players? He does have a lot of potential, but remember, he played for the Spartans. He transferred to FSU, and he started off on fire, and then the situation got not as on fire. So I think that, and this is a super deep wide receiver class. And I think the fact that Keon Coleman in this class is like a fringe first round pick goes to show you just how deep it is. So
you're looking for the Lions cap next year?
The Niners. Oh, and by the way, that's the 24 cap. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Yeah, so they are going to have $1.3 million available. So like, I'm thinking that a couple of their free agents make it to free agency.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to just absolutely restructure the whole roster, which means you're just pushing the problem down to another year. Eventually you have to let someone go. So let's go back to the draft.
Yep. All right. So I think they just probably go cornerback here, right? Just
sure.
Boost the D.
That makes sense. And then let's give Keon Coleman to the Baltimore Ravens. You have to scroll down a minute. There he is. We'll give what's his name? Lamar Jackson a great
Steve-O.
target. Yeah, Steve-O. Yeah, that's it. So the Lions ended up going with a cornerback. In a draft. So I hate this draft class. This kind of draft class is the absolute worst for me. There's like 2 or 3 guys that are very clearly like, yep, this is where you're going. And then it's like throwing cards on the ground, and like it depends on which one you're going to pick up. So This is super. I think it's going to be the most difficult. I think someone's going to win a lot of money in our draft day bets on this one,
because it's going to be nothing. Then someone's going to win big, like my son did.
We're all going to be wrong for the majority of the time. Oh, thanks, Aqua. I appreciate that, man.
Thanks. Yeah.
Hey,
right on.
so, just if Steve-O and Donkey Kong and Zakor, if you guys are still in the chat, I would like to do, after every round of the playoffs, when we get more draft positions set in stone, doing another one of these to kind of see how it comes into focus. So, like, and I just, like, I'm a draft slut. So, like, if you guys are as well, then we can do some kind of consistent, maybe not every week, but like,
Yeah, because there's not going to be enough changes every week.
well, I mean,
Right.
so we there will be changes up to the week after the Super Bowl, and then there will be draft prep and that will be kind of the dead period, right? Like,
Yeah.
we won't, the draft order will be set, trades will not have happened. We will just be going through and doing player evaluation. So like,
Yeah.
we could do something like this after each round of the playoffs, and then do like one after the Super Bowl, and then take a break for
Yeah.
a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then just like do combine coverage and what the Lions have done to like re-sign guys to the roster, or surprise cuts, that kind of thing. So anyways, let us know in the comments, right?
Yeah, right on.
So
All right. Well, we ran long, which is great because that just means we got to talk football a lot more. So I'm cool with it.
we've been running longer the last month or so. I'm going to look up when the Senior Bowl is for Zaquaa here, or was it Steve-O?
Steve-O.
February 3rd, Saturday, February 3rd.
Is that also during like Pro Bowl weekend when they do their flag football and skills comp?
I could give a shit. Didn't give a shit about the Pro Bowl when it was a real football game. So
Yeah.
I
enjoy the skills competition because I think they're fun to watch. Just like hockey. Like I love watching the hockey skills competition, but I don't consider the Pro Bowl anything other than a fun thing. It means nothing.
The skills competition at hockey seems a lot more meaningful than the skills competition in the NFL. So like the only event in the Pro Bowl that I will watch is when they do kicker tic-tac-toe. What is it called? The game where
I haven't watched a Pro Bowl in years, so I don't even know.
There's a game you play as a kid where like you have X's and O's on like a
tic-tac-toe.
Is that tic-tac-toe? Yeah. So the kickers play tic-tac-toe, AFC, NFC, and they play the game, and I think that's kind of fun,
Right.
But like,
they still had the quarterback accuracy with like the billboards going across. I loved that. That was fun.
I hate that so much. I hate that.
Really?
That's my least favorite event because
oh my god,
you have these guys that are making tens of millions, and they're out there and they're like, you can't even hit the moving 3-point target. Fuck you.
What were you doing all year? How did you get to this?
You're out here in shorts, no pads. Do you need to put pads on? I don't care. Put your game pads on if it means you're gonna hit the target.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I remember.
Now, in fairness, those are downfield aways, right? Where you're always going to be a little bit less. These aren't the little inside slants, right?
They always go for the bucket ones by the pylon that are worth like 4 points, and they never get it.
Yeah.
And it's just like bomb, didn't get it, bomb, didn't get it. Don't hit the moving 1-point target. Don't hit the pendulum 5-point thing. I hate that. Because it's like Dak Prescott got 6 points or whatever. And I was like,
yeah, because he hit 2 15-yarders.
I just,
yeah.
They should all be hitting like 40 points.
Yeah.
I watched.
Yeah, as much money, you should get at least 1 point per $1 million in your contract.
Yeah, you should. So like, I remember watching, I think it was Jameis Winston when he was on like Elite 11. So he was like 16 or 17 years old. He was standing on like the 45-yard line, and they put like a honest to God, like tiny trash can where the pylon is. And he just like from across the field, throwing across the field, 45 yards, he put that thing first try into the trash can.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're telling me you can't hit the little moving pendulum for 5 points or whatever? Shut up. I hate it. I hate it so much.
That's funny. That's my favorite. Just, I think it's the most fun to watch. It's the most frustrating to see them fail at, but it's the most fun to watch. It's similar to like the hardest shot in the accuracy competition in the NHL playoffs or the NHL All-Star game. All right, buddy. Next Tuesday, we're going to come in for hopefully a victory Tuesday and have our first win in 30 years as well.
That would be awesome. That would be
So
awesome.
let's catch everybody next week.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. Peace.